friends, I finally got my hands on the new Danessa Myricks COLORFIX multi-use pigment sticks. And yes, I should have bought them earlier, but I wanted to swatch them in person. They released earlier this month, maybe last month, I can't recall, just to get an idea of which ones to buy, because it's tough to figure that out from online photos, as spectacular of a job Danessa Myricks does, the brand does, in providing as many photo swatches and model complexion shades as possible, just so the consumer can have a better idea of what to purchase, especially if they're not able to go in store. But all of them look gorgeous, and I was like, you can't buy all of them, stop it right now. I bought 3, still overkill, but I like the 3 that I chose. But just some quick details out the way, these are dual-ended sticks, a part of Danessa Myricks' Freedom system that she introduced, I think, with Lightwork 6, in that you have the magnetic base and the smaller palette quadrants to fit in the entire base, or you could take them out like the size here. This is the pastel palette. You could actually stack them on top of one another and not have the large eyeshadow base, but just carry the sextets as is with the accompanying mirror lid. And now we have a similar magnetic system where the tab here, or I guess you can refer to this as like a holder, is magnetic. 2 sides, and you can either hold them as you just saw together in one long stick, or you can hold them separately, but they attach to this magnet connector here, and each side has a different finish. I think we're dealing with metallic and like a foil shade. I just can't wait to get into these. They retail for $38 each. I think a fair price considering how much product you're getting and the type of product. It says here 2 times 0.106 ounces, or 3 grams of product total. We have a suggested shelf life of 6 months. I have 6-month makeup that survived beyond that time frame, but I think it is imperative that you take special care of these cream products. I actually had them in the fridge before I started filming because I was out and about, and it was, or still is, a high of 95 degrees, and I didn't want to start handling these sticks and they begin to mush on the swatch, so I wanted to firm them up a little bit. I'm actually considering keeping them in the fridge. I wonder if that will have an impact on the longevity, maybe get a little more out of the 6 months. These are also made in China. I think a lot of Danessa Myricks is because probably that's where the manufacturing she found that is able to develop these incredible formulas at a great price point. So we have 3 in all. Let's start off with what box that I just opened, duo number 4. Well, you know what, I should go in numerical order because I have 3, 4, and 6. Let's start with number 3, Solar Flare and Lunar Veil. I swatched quite a few in store. I visited the Herald Square location, the Sephora location in NYC, which is one of our flagship locations. So I knew they would have it in store, and I'm happy that I had the opportunity to actually swatch these. But duo number 3, again, Solar Flare and Lunar Veil. Again, here is the stick up close with the magnetic connector, and don't mind me as I show you what the stick looks like solo. And I think this is fantastic, especially if you just wanted to disconnect them and carry the shorter sticks, because I do believe that will be easier for travel, depending on what type of makeup cosmetic bag that you have and what dimensions that they are. And each stick has what it is. So this is the foil side, and I'm trying to figure out, okay, on the foil side, and you have the sticker on the back that indicates the color. Thank goodness. Lunar Veil is, I believe, again, the foiled shade, and let's grab Solar Flare, which is the metallic. You have a plastic cap on each. Here is a close-up of Solar Flare, and that is a sunset bronze metallic. Isn't that beautiful? And also, my apologies, I forgot to mention some details about the formula. A multi-use pearl pigment stick with a refreshing water burst featuring a magnetic mix and match freedom system. And you immediately feel that refreshing sensation on the skin is quite remarkable. It doesn't feel bee stung, or it doesn't have like what usually is found in a lot of lip plumping formulas. This feels like water on the skin. Just a lovely feel on that application. And again, you have that sunset bronze color in the metallic finish, which I think remarkable. Ooh, and that sets pretty fast. So if you want to blend this out, you better move quickly. But this is a part of her COLORFIX portfolio in her brand. COLORFIX, if you're not familiar, is a sector of her products that is long wearing, all day. For instance, one of the pigments I have here is a part of the COLORFIX line in the shade Ginger, and multi-use as well, can be used on lips, cheeks, and eyes like the sticks here. Going into the foiled side, and here is a close-up of the foil side. It is outrageously shiny. And again, we have Lunar Veil, the gold glimmer. Look at that. But I want to see, okay, here we go. You got to work quickly or else it will set and it'll be hard to move. Isn't that beautiful? The camera does not do it justice. You have to see this over or under a hard light so you could pick up the twinkle effect, because it is definitely there. Definitely there, and I would love to see this in action as an overlay shade, as maybe a little more intense on the entire lid. And now we're gonna put these back together using the magnetic connector just for organizing sakes. Number 4 is Apollo and Artemis. And I thought this was lovely because Apollo was the dark chocolate metallic, and I had to get into that 100%. Here is Apollo, that dark chocolate metallic, and just, oh, delicious. Let me go in quickly so we could get an idea of the blend. You could even feel like how wet it is, but can you see that sparkle even in the metallic formula? Crazy twinkle effect in there. And the Artemis side, we have golden glimmer. Outrageous. Simply outrageous. Look at that. Ooh wee, that is shiny. Again, my lights are not picking up the twinkle. They are absolutely not. And there is, on the foil side for these sticks, definitely like a duochrome effect. You can see the shift on the actual stick surface, and probably even more so if I had more light sources at my disposal, I'll be able to pick up that shift as well. But I hope you can see the shine. And we got one more. Okay, I'm looking at this now. I could have decided between these two. Either of these would have been beautiful, but I wanted both because I am selfish. Chocolate bronze and golden bronze are just different. They're different for me. I liked the Apollo shade for potentially like a one and done smoky eye, which we will experiment with in this video. But let's move on to number 6, Celeste and Nova. Upon this release and scanning the shades, I definitely wanted one that wasn't too dark of a metallic, but more of like a lighter finish across the lid. So I thought Celeste and Nova would be a great choice. First, we have Celeste, which is a golden metallic taupe. Oh, this right here, I think is such a unique shade. It's not like your traditional taupe. There's a little bit of mauve in there, don't you think? And that is paired with Nova, the rich tawny shimmer. Again, I don't know if you can see that duochrome shift on the surface, but this one, stop it right now. Isn't that absolutely beautiful? So these are the 3 I chose, 6 finishes in all, 6 shades in all. And I cannot wait to start experimenting. I have a few ideas in mind. I definitely want to see the metallic in action solo, and then want to follow up with the foil and discover how it layers, how it performs. Definitely want to see the foil solo just so I can see if we could get more of a veil effect, maybe a little more intense coverage, right? So let me take off what I have on the eyes now, and I'll pull you in a little closer. All right, I removed what was on the eyelids. I still kept my Prada scope on because love her. But I will not follow up with primer because the COLORFIX formula, I think, is designed to have its own primer because it is a long wearing product. So I didn't want to interfere with that performance, and I think it'll be interesting to see how it kind of, again, works on its own on a bare lid. Now let's talk about brushes, because as you saw, this sets quite quickly, and I think it'll be more appropriate for me to use a mixed brush, something that has a goat hair and a synthetic bristle, or even thinking like a goat, but I'm also thinking goat or horse, weasel, Kolinsky. You know what? I should grab my Kolinsky brush. Kolinsky is an ideal bristle type to work with cream products, especially long wearing ones. It is highly durable while feeling soft and silky on the skin. Specifically, this is my Bobo and Bishido collab Kolinsky eyeshadow brush. I also have a larger one as well as a blender type. So these will be the star brushes for the video. And the next option will be just all synthetic. They have been great synthetic shapes and designs that have released as of late. So grab your favorite synthetic brush and follow along. I think I want to see this one in action. What was it called again? My goodness, I have to get this memory unlock. Solar Flare it is. In easy Danessa fashion, because Danessa has mentioned several times that she likes finger forward formulas, or likes to develop finger forward formulas. And you saw I started tapping right away. I wanted to see the finger tap first because that will be the easiest blend tool at your disposal, right? And I think that's what Danessa also had in mind when creating this product. Now, I do unfortunately pick up a little too much of the metallic from my lid, but I enjoy the immediate haze effect that it has on my eyes. If I wanted to layer, I'll just tap on the lid and keep it there, but perhaps follow up with a light brush stroke on the edges, just so that I could diffuse through the crease. And that already is absolutely gorgeous. I love the color. It's soft, perfect for day. If I wanted like something smoky on the eyes, but didn't want it to appear too smoky, like what I will probably get from the Apollo Duo, this is a pretty color. Now I want to see how the metallic, or excuse me, the foil side performs on top. I don't know if I should follow up straight from stick to lid, but I'm simply just carefully whipping it lightly on top, and I want to lightly follow up with a finger tap. Oh boy, that is pretty. That is pretty, but a few notes. I don't think it's a good idea to go overboard with the application. Less is better, especially if you have textured lids, because as much as the foiled formula is gorgeous, it can grab texture because of the flakes, even in stick form. So I think it will be beneficial to lightly tap the texture out, just so that it could sit a little more flat on your lid. I also want to experiment how it acts if I wanted to go from brush to stick into the eyes. Or more so onto the eyes. And that's pretty. That might be a more fitting approach if you are dealing with lid texture. I think going straight from stick to lid might not be an ideal step, but let me know if you have and the outcome is fine. You don't experience any texture, that the foil finish doesn't grab any kind of lid, whatever, that doesn't look crunchy, you know what I mean? Why don't we follow up with that same technique with the under eyes? If I could, my goodness, I'm so confused where to go. I'm taking the Solar Flare, the golden bronze side, same brush, and just placing it here under the lash line to complete the look. And I'm also pulling in a little bit here through the crease. Actually, let me take my blender brush. I'm gonna whip it around straight on the stick and then take that metallic through the crease. Ooh, that's going to invite a little more of the COLORFIX cream on the eyes, But you do have to work quickly, because if you miss that opportunity, it's going to stay, which is a good thing, right? If you want longevity from this product, that's what it will come down to. But if you want to blend it out and not just have it sit as it just applied, then you have to work fairly quickly. Next side, I believe, is duo number 4. Yes, we have Artemis and Apollo. Apollo is our chocolate brown metallic, and judging from what we experience on this eye, let me see, do I want to go in the same fashion? I actually do. I think going in from stick to lid is probably one of the easiest ways to work with the product, but have a brush on standby so you can blend the edges and have them look the way you want, because it will begin to set and then be tough to move thereafter. And as much as I love to use my finger, because it is an easier way to blend these shadows, I think the finger blend picks up too much of the metallic to my liking. So a brush, I feel, is a better tool to use. But the finger application isn't bad. I just felt I picked up too much product from my lid. And I'm following up with my blender, taking some color from the tip and then pulling it through the crease, just so that I can have a more comprehensive haze effect. And Apollo, I knew this would be a lovely color. It gives me just enough haze without looking too cool. It still has like that chocolate undertone to it, but it's not a warm chocolate. I think it's just right in terms of what my preference is. And I want to follow up this time with of course, the metallic side, the foil side, I should say, in Artemis. But instead of going directly from stick to lid, to control the texture a little bit, I do want to take it up with a brush first. So as you know, if you don't know, when dealing with different finishes and colors and using the same brush, it is recommended that you lightly wipe the brush on a towel, be it a conventional towel or a microfiber one, so you can release the excess pigment from the bristles so as to not overwhelm the application with excess product. So pulling from the stick, and now I'll lightly whisk it on. Yes, that's much better. I think this technique provides a little more control over how much of that reflectivity you want on the lid, and will also help with the texture, right? If you feel the foil is a little too intense, definitely a brush application is going to help control that for you. And of course, I want to take this on the inner corner. Ooh, that's pretty. I also want to experiment, as I like to do sometimes, is to apply like the shinier shade through the inner arc of the lid, just so it looks like a rainbow of shine. That's a fun region of the eye, I think, to explore with a finish such as the foil one, so you can invite even more of that reflectivity to the eye look. So here is round 1, layering the metallic on the lid, following up with the foil side, and I like these two textures together. I have to say though, I think probably easier to deal with the metallic side because it doesn't have the flakier texture, but incredible that it comes in a stick form. I think Danessa just crushes texture boundaries in her brand, where she experiments with different types of finishes and how those finishes can be delivered, right? Not in your typical powder or even cream fashion, like cream shadow in a pot, but she managed to figure out how to deliver these special effect formulas in a non-fussy, hassle-free way. And I immediately recognized that, especially when these sticks first released. I was just like, this is gonna be so simple. I can't wait to try. I do want to apply the foil solo, so let's remove what we have on the lids now. Remove what we had on. My apologies if it looks a little splotchy, because I'm trying to economize my time and not worry so much about resetting the eye area each time. But let's grab one of the foils, and this is from Duo 4 in Artemis, and I'll like to try directly from stick to lid. And I'm going to lightly tap. Maybe that will deposit a lighter serving, and follow up with a finger to see what that does. And any spots that I feel need a little more of that foil color, I'll just lightly tap. Instead of swiping, you could swipe. I do feel that tapping allows for better control. You definitely can experiment with both. And also I think will prevent the flakes from laying flat on the lid and will have more of like a scatter twinkle effect. And there it is. Oh my goodness. Again, camera is not doing it justice. Maybe a little bit now since we have it on the lid solo, but the reflectivity and the shine is outrageous. I think it's fantastic to have a finish like this that's so high shine but long lasting on the lids, because that's often a trade-off that we've seen and make, or brands make, with developing these types of finishes, that you usually have to sacrifice the shine for not long lasting wear, because there might be like something in the formula that naturally will break down with oily lids. But once this sets, it's not budging. It's not budging. And I could only imagine me following up with my Prada liner and having a little diffuse soft wing on the lash line. Yes, yes. And now let's see the other foil. Okay, I have to keep track of what I'm doing here. I think it was first duo number 3. Yes, we didn't do duo number 3. Lunar Veil. This one has more of, I think, like I forgot what it was. This is more like a bronzy backdrop. This is more golden, or was this like a little pink in terms of the color profile? And I do enjoy the tapping. I think the tapping, again, just releases the product in a more even fashion. And also the size of the stick, I think, easy to maneuver. I know I have pretty large lids, but if you have smaller eyes, I still think you will find this stick size favorable for the application. And doing the tapping allows, again, for you to evenly distribute the foil formula so you don't have to follow up with a finger. Because once you do, you could risk picking up the product off the lid. We'll have to apply more, and I think that's when you can get into texture territory. But if you just lightly tap to release the product, that will lay it on evenly in a way that doesn't look chunky or uneven, and then you don't actually have to tap to finish. Maybe you could tap the edges lightly, but since this is more of like an overlay shade, it's not necessary to do that through the crease, in my opinion. It just kind of falls where it does, and the shine itself is the show, right? Who cares about you blending this out? You just see the shine and you're like, fine, we're done. Let's get out of here. All right, let's move on to the final duo, and we'll just apply everything, and I'll see you back here in a bit. All right, final duo number 6, going in with Celeste and Nova. Let me just quickly pull up the color descriptions again. Celeste is the golden metallic taupe with rich tawny shimmer, and Celeste is the metallic side. Again, I just removed what was on the lid and applying it all over. But now that I'm using the stick, to avoid any color being lifted off the lid, I think I'm only using my finger on the edges through the crease. And that's enough for me. Ooh, that's pretty. I'm happy I chose Celeste. I also want to try bringing finger directly on stick and then tapping on the lid. That's a way you could go as well. I think that'll be a successful application. But I also wanted to use my blender again and just lightly toss through the crease just to finish that application. And now following up with Celeste, but as we discovered in our previous demo, I think a light tap of the stick is probably one of the better ways to go. And my goodness, again, the rich tawny shimmer is absolutely shiny. And I'll do the same thing here. Let's just see the tawny in action solo without the taupe metallic underneath. And I think that is such a beautiful backdrop of color. It feels, again, refreshing on the application, lightweight. You could definitely see the duochrome. I know it might be hard to pick up on camera, but in person, it is lovely. And if you wanted, you could follow up, I think, with the metallic side and tap around the edges of the lid and just carefully bring it through the crease. Just a little bit if you wanted to create a little bit of shading, right? To use both at once. I could only imagine how this would perform on one of Danessa's color fixes in the tube or any other long wearing eye product that you might own, that it would truly lock in the wear time for the COLORFIX multi-use sticks for sure. Oh my goodness. And we could go in with lips. So I have on Ashes of Roses from Lisa's Rouge Experience. Can you tell? Maybe we can try Celeste. No. Oh gosh. So be careful with how you handle these sticks. They are quite soft. So don't be like me and apply unnecessary pressure, because I wanted to lightly tap on the lip so it could have that twinkle effect. But you could just see the shine is insane. And for you to achieve this effect, it is crucial that the flakes lay flat. You want them to lay flat, and you don't want any of the chunks to be left behind to achieve that finish. So just be careful. Be careful with how much pressure you apply in using the stick. Make sure you are delicate, unlike me, because it can be a little messy. But once you figure that out, you'll be fine. I do want to follow up a little bit of the taupe and just toss it here through the lid. Ooh, that's pretty. I kind of want to see what this would look like with a liner, because when these were announced, I just thought, okay, quick and easy, get the foil on the lid, follow up with a nice diffuse smoky wing, and that will be the eye for the day. Of course, going with a Prada liner in wood, following up with a light smoke out of that liner. Adore how Prada Lines is performing on top of Danessa's COLORFIX foil formula. It just kind of slides right on, so it does not interrupt the application. That's what's on the lid. So that's a great sign for impeccable layering with this product. All right, for the finale demo, we're gonna slap on some lashes, and I'll be right back. And here are the looks from our final round. And gathering my thoughts, I think, of course, I predicted that Danessa's COLORFIX Stix would be a phenomenal product, especially from her recent releases, notably the Lightwork 6 Freedom palette. That really just crushed everyone's expectations in a good way. And before that, her groundwork palettes, right? I believe Defining Neutrals and then Blooming Romance. Lightwork 6 Freedom palette, however, just, my goodness, broke boundaries. It really surprised everyone. Maybe not everyone, but I think even those who are familiar with Danessa's brand were just floored by her accomplishments in developing these finishes that were just easy to apply on the eyes. And now we have that same experience in stick form, which I definitely can understand the appeal. Just from the shape alone, even though the stick itself is quite long, you don't have to store it in that way, but just make sure if you store the connector separately, you know where to find it if you decide to use it again. You definitely can just have the stick separately as is. They're both labeled so you know which is which with both the color and the finish. And I think there is a place for one's makeup routine where they just want to use a stick, dab, and go. That there's no blending, there's no finishing or following up with a brush or what have you. Definitely one of the more simpler formulas and designs that Danessa has created for the consumer that wants to sparkle in the shine, but not with the fuss and a much lower barrier of entry. The formulas themselves, the metallic is beautifully smooth, incredibly soft, and a joy to work with. The fact that you get this just from applying stick to skin is outrageously good. The color is there, the shine is definitely there, but you saw you have to work quickly. So if you decide to use a brush, make sure it is on hand, that you don't apply the metallic and then you gotta go search for it, and by the time you get the brush on your lid, the color fix is fixed. Or if you use a finger, my recommendation is to not tap on the lid, but just tap on the edges where you want that blurring to happen, a little more of a diffused effect to happen. Same thing with the foil side. I think from this demonstration, I concluded the best way for me, maybe not for everyone, but for me to apply the foil formula is to just tap the stick directly on the skin, because then you'll get that shine, you'll get the color backdrop effect. If you want to even a lighter application, I would say maybe going from finger, stick, tap on the stick, and then lightly tap what's on the finger on your lid. That will maybe have a lighter overlay effect. And the next option will be to go from brush to stick to skin. Just be careful, however, if you decide to use your finger, to not apply too much pressure to the foiled side at least. It is quite delicate and not resistant to being smushed, as you saw and as I experienced. Just remember, apply light pressure. You don't need much to apply ample product from the stick itself. Tap on the lid and you just get this beautiful shine that stays, right? So the COLORFIX formula is not going to leave your lid. It's definitely going to stay. And if you want more, you can definitely follow up with more, as I am here, just as I described. Not applying too much pressure and just carefully taking that on the lid, and you instantly have that wet effect shine on the skin, right? Just incredible. Do you need 3? Absolutely not. Yes, I know I review beauty on YouTube and just wanted to purchase the ones that will contribute to my routine, right? These are the shades that I would wear every day, that I would easily reach for, that I would pair with my other neutral favorites that I have in my collection seamlessly, right? They will all fit together well, and my objectives were met. When I saw COLORFIX for the first time online, I thought, wow, what a great product to get that wet effect on the lid with little fuss, and just to follow up as I did for this demonstration with the liner across the lash line and mascara or maybe lashes as I applied. Right now I have my Ardell Naked Lashes in number 421, and the effect is just enough. Is just enough serving of shine, just enough serving of color, especially here on this side. I adore, I think it's the Apollo shade. No, Celeste. The metallic taupe. Ooh, it is just enough haze to create that structure on the lid without looking too smoky. It's fantastic, and I think perfect for day. But just to have the foil on its own, ooh, it's pretty. Now, personally, I would not use these, although you can. There are a multi-use stick, first and foremost. You can use them on eyes, cheeks, and lips, but I would reserve the sticks to just my eyes because I wouldn't want this foil on the cheekbones. I prefer to use a highlighter formula that's a little more subtle, a little more of like that pearl finished effect. In fact, I have Victoria Beckham Beauty's Reflect Highlighter Stick on in pearl. I adore my Prada highlighter, or even the YSL is another option. But this is what I prefer to have on my cheekbones. I don't necessarily would like this on the cheekbones because I do have texture here, and to have a formula that's a little more blurring in nature, I think more favorable to me anyway. But you definitely could follow up with the foil tap on the cheekbones. You can maybe experiment if you have the other shades here, because there are 8 in all. We got 8 sticks in all. The metallic in one of them that's maybe more pinky in tone. Perhaps you could get away with a serving of shimmer here on the cheeks. I don't know. Have you tried it? You could definitely achieve that on the lip. Should I? Okay, before we go, I have Lisa Eldridge on, and I tapped on, I think it was the foil from, let me pull this out to see. It was Lunar Veil. I can't recall. I think it was from Duo number 6. Yes, I think I applied Nova on the lip. It's nice. It's a little twinkle inkle. Which one though? I think 03 will look quite nice to have that golden metallic on the lip. Oh my. Oh my. Oh my goodness. Wow, that set immediately. But a little bit of Lisa's Sculptin shade in 2N. Whoa. We are giving disco. Okay, that's not bad. That's not bad. It's not a lip that I would wear often. It's quite bold and shiny, and you have to make sure that the flakes kind of melt into the lip, and it does feel like a matte once it sets. The shine is still there. That metallic finish is present, but the feel of it once it sets is like I'm wearing a liquid matte. It's actually quite fascinating. So if you don't like liquid mattes, I don't know how you would feel about the metallic stick side being on the lip, but if this is just for like a short stint, maybe, I don't know, you cosplay or you have a specific look in mind that requires a high shine metallic lip, then you have it in the COLORFIX multi-use stick. There you go. So that is it, family. That is my first impressions of the new Danessa Myricks COLORFIX multi-use stick for eyes, cheeks, and lips. Let me know if you picked up any of the duos. I loved all three. I think all shades serve my routine well. They serve my preferences well. I can't wait to continue using them and just discovering different ways to apply them and how I compare them with my other favorites in my collection. If you made it this far, make sure you like this video by clicking that thumbs up. It helps me immensely in letting the algorithm know that I am worth watching, and would also recommend my videos for other beauty enthusiasts like yourself to watch. And consider subscribing, because I might upload a short using the COLORFIX multi-use stick or review another product. You never know what I pick up next, and as soon as that upload knows, you'll know immediately by clicking that notification bell. And if it's your first time to my channel, welcome. Please stay, peruse some more. Maybe I'll see you in this video. I'll definitely see you in the comments for this one, and on here again next time.